Hey, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Another weekend of NFL preseason football to talk about. We are inching closer to Labor Day weekend. We got college football beginning. They call this week zero, kind of a gimmick. This is week zero with the college football season kicking off over the pond in Dublin, Ireland. Ryno, how are you, my friend? You have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend, Napes. Beautiful weather. How about yourself?
Yeah, I had a really good weekend. So I'm ready to roll. I'm coming into Sacktown next week. I'm pumped up for
Hey,
that. I'm looking forward to going to Bennett's and seeing you and my friends and my son. And then I'm going to the Alabama game on Labor Day weekend with both my boys. I'm really excited to get back to California and then make a little jaunt to Nashville, Tennessee.
yeah, you're doing the whole SEC experience. Last year it was Tennessee. This year it's going to be Alabama. What a
Yeah,
time, Napes.
I know, man. I'm crossing them off my bucket list. I've been to a college basketball game at Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke, and I've been
Boom.
to a college basketball game at Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas. So the only one I have left on my list is, well, there are two. I want to go to a night game at LSU in Baton Rouge, and I
Mm.
want to go to a game at Lambeau Field. I want to go see a game at Lambeau. And other than that, I think I've pretty much done it all.
It's pretty damn cool to say. And you played some courses over the pond as well. I'm going to be going to
Yeah.
see Lambo, so I'll take some pictures for you. Not sure they'll let me do the leap, though, Napes. So
No, they
we'll
won't
see.
let you do the
Yeah.
leap. And I don't want to like make you feel bad, but I don't like your chances of getting over the wall. Okay.
But I got new hips, Napes. I mean, you're telling me these metal hips don't give me an
Let me
extra
repeat
strength?
myself. I don't like your chances of being able to make
Oh,
it into the first row. Okay.
all
Unless they
right,
have a
all right.
well, if they have a trampoline, you know,
That might work. Yeah, or a
or they
kid's
might
version of the
use what
Lambo
they,
Leap.
on the at the Olympics, right? They
Yes.
they might they might the pommel, not the vault or whatever the hell that damn thing is called. You know that might help you.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get. Maybe I can get those old shoes they used to sell back in the day that give you a 6-inch vertical within
Oh,
30 days. Oh,
all right.
baby.
So let's get into the 49ers.
Let's do
Listen,
it.
I don't need to see Brock Purdy in the preseason to know what I have in Brock Purdy. Okay. It's not like of all the things that I would worry about as a 49ers fan, that's the one thing I would not worry about. Injury or not last year. I don't care. I'm not worried about Brock Purdy. I'm not worried about how he looked in the preseason game. I already know what Brock Purdy can do. The only thing that matters for the 49ers, there are two things that matter: getting Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams on the field and having no more injuries, and making sure that I'll add a third one, making sure McCaffrey is 100% for the Jets game on week 1 Monday Night Football. That's all that matters.
Yeah, last time I checked, there was not a quarterback battle there for number one. It was number two between Dobbs and Brandon Allen. But what was more surprising, Napes, is you've got three projected starters on the offensive line out, and you're
I
running
know.
bootlegs with
I know.
Mr. Purdy. What are we doing?
I don't understand that either. Although you're not really going against the top flight defense, but I'm with you on that. That's the last thing you want to be doing. Uh, it's like I'm a Giants fan. Daniel Jones looked terrible. And then in the second half of his performance, he played very well. Daniel Jones isn't Brock Purdy. Like Daniel
No.
Jones's sample size of playing good football is much smaller than Brock Purdy. So I'm more concerned when I see that. I'm not concerned at all when I watch Brock Purdy. I'm just not.
Yeah, no, that chemistry is pretty much nailed down. In Daniel Jones' case, not only have you not played football and you're coming off of an injury, but you got Malik Neighbors. You're trying to get that timing right. But to your point, those are practice things. In fact, last night, Kyle Shanahan was asked about why Purdy got some run.
Hoping it would be one long drive just to get him out, similar to what BA had last week. But we had, I think it was 2 3 and outs, so I don't want to go past that. I think it's good for quarterbacks to get in. Felt good with the guys that were in there, and we're pretty conservative with what we did with them. And
I don't know if bootlegs are conservative. He was also asked if Purdy's going to get some play in their next preseason game, and he expects him to play as well. Are we on a delay?
Can't hear it.
Oh no, there's no drop. I was just saying Purdy's supposed to play.
Oh, I'm
next week.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
No,
were getting ready. I thought you were leading
nope.
into another soundbite. No, there's
You are
no
good.
delay. I'll say this: a year ago, you know, Purdy was coming off the injury, right? And people were questioning
Absolutely.
his arm. This year, there's, like, what are you worried about? I'm not worried. I don't, not worried at all about Brock Purdy. That's a good question about the rollouts and whatever. Anyway, so what? I'm sorry. I was expecting to hear another soundbite based on the way you were leading that in. Is he going to play in the final preseason game or not?
He's expected to play. That
Okay.
could change as the week goes along, but Kyle expected him to get a little bit more run. And you know who became more valuable than ever? Trent Williams last night, Grant. They got to get him in after they saw that performance from the offensive line.
Ryan, they have to. I mean, and if you're Trent Williams, you're just sitting there going, cha-ching, cha-ching,
Right?
cha-ching.
Yeah.
Right?
Master plan played out just as I expected it to.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't want his teammates to get hurt, obviously.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to call the show, we welcome your phone calls. If you want to just send us a message, we're happy to take those and discuss. Hope you had a very good weekend. I'm getting so pumped up knowing that a week from Saturday, I'm going to be at a big time college football venue and I'll be with my kids. And you know, my background, like
Yeah.
my greatest memories in life are with my father and my brother as a kid going to all the different games. And it's also so fun for me to give that back to my kids. Now, we've done some amazing things. We've had some great sports trips, and this will be another one that we'll add to the list.
One of the greatest. I mean, they've done Super Bowls with you, Grant,
Yeah.
plenty of basketball games, but Alabama.
You going to Ireland? I see your little, you're going to make the trip over to Dublin, go see a little college football this weekend, buddy?
You know, as much as I would like to make it to Dublin, I don't think it is going to happen, but I can't wait for them to lace it up. You know, Florida State, Grant, they're going to be ready coming off of an undefeated season.
And they felt like they got screwed last year in the college football playoff. Be interesting to see Florida State. I think Miami's going to be good this year too. I think they've got a lot of momentum. This, you got to remember, this college football season is completely different because we have the expanded college football playoff, and we have now the realigned conferences with the Pac-12 no longer. And when you look at the Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10, I mean, gosh, wow, right? I mean, we're talking about these super conferences. College football looks different, and again, January is going to have a completely different feel to it, Ryno.
It's going to have a much different feel. And you know what we missed out on last season? The expanded playoff, great. But when bowl season rolled around, we saw so many more players opt out, Grant. And it wasn't because of the NFL. It was because of the transfer portal. So I'm interested to see how that works because coaches debatably like it and some debatably can't stand it.
Well, what happened last year with Florida State was an embarrassment for college football. I mean, as soon as they got knocked out of when I mean knocked out, as soon as they weren't selected, they had half their team not show up for the bowl game.
Exactly right. And
that's horrible.
It is. And speaking of them as an example, do you have a problem with the committee? I want to revisit this really quick. Part of the reason they were left out is the committee saw their starting quarterback gone, not able to play. It'll be interesting to see if that continues to be part of the formula. Where do you stand with that?
So it's a fabulous question, and it was one that was debated for a long time upon the decision of the committee not to select Florida State. What's the most important position on the field? Quarterback, right?
Quarterback, yep.
The NCAA is trying to give their audience the best possible matchups. And I'm not an expert on the backup quarterback for Florida State last year, okay? So I can't sit here and tell you, but you can look at it two ways. It's unfair to the players on Florida State who did go undefeated, who are being penalized because the quarterback got hurt. That's number one. That's first and foremost. If you go on to the semifinal with a quarterback that's not ready to play based on lack of experience, and it's a blowout, you're losing a ton of money in TV ratings. People are turning off their TVs. You get the picture, right? It's a tough call for the NCAA. Where do you fall down on this?
You know, Grant, I see both sides of it. I think ultimately you got to give them a chance to play. If you go undefeated, it's not a fluke. The quarterback is an important spot, but in this transfer portal day, teams are deeper and deeper than they've ever been. They're not tied to a guy for 4 years on a scholarship. They can shuffle them out as much as they want. But I think the whole goal of this, with the 12-team playoff expanded this year and eventually going to go to 14, is to alleviate some of those problems, at least get enough of the teams in, because this would be a non-topic had they had an expanded playoff.
Well, I could have certainly made an argument for them being in over Alabama. You know, Alabama got destroyed at home against Texas. All right. And Alabama had a lot of games that they were very, very lucky to win. I did not think Alabama was deserving last year to be a Final Four team. And so for that reason, I would have had no problem if you would put Florida State in to play Michigan in the semifinal game.
Sure.
Now, in all fairness, the Michigan-Alabama game was a good game. It was a hell of a semifinal game. It was a really good game.
Yeah, and arguably, I don't want to flip-flop here. Alabama was playing some of the best football down the stretch of the season out of anybody. So anytime
really
you have
true. But I want to stop you for a minute because I want to get your thought on this.
Yeah.
The thought is a loss early in the season doesn't hurt you. A loss late in the season kills you. But isn't a loss, Ryan?
Yeah, a loss is a loss to me. It depends on the competition too, Grant. You know, you can't give people credit for scheduling hard at the beginning of the season. And I know that changes now because we're going to see better games with the expanded playoff. But then ding them at the end for a loss against a better team or a just as good team, a conference opponent that you might be seeing for the second time that year. It's tricky.
All right, I want to get to this because I totally disagree with this. Cody, love your feedback. Hope Coach Prime leads the Colorado Buffaloes to success. He's keeping receipts. Keeping receipts on what, Cody? What's he keeping receipts on? Okay, the guy has done nothing at Colorado. Okay, nothing other than bring interest to the program. They went 1-8 in the conference last year. They went 4-8 overall. Okay, they didn't beat anybody that was good last year. A&M was terrible last year. The media went overboard. Coach Prime acts like he's got a undefeated national championship team, disagrees, embarrasses the media when they write something or say something that he doesn't like and doesn't agree on. He is on a big time power trip. All right. I personally root for Colorado to lose every week. I am tired of Deion Sanders and his act. I understand that you could make the argument that he's really good for college football, and I'll go along with doing that. But do it the right way. All right. Your press conferences are a freaking embarrassment. The press conference they had on the Big 12 conference day or the press day was embarrassing.
Yep.
It was embarrassing. Actually, he's now come out and has apologized for that. Stop it. Deion Sanders has done nothing. He has done absolutely nothing other than get people to go to the Colorado Buffalo games. Don't tell me about Primetime, who went 1-8 in the conference last year. I'm sorry. He went 1-8 in the conference. Let me repeat. He went 1-8 in the conference. All right. Should have lost. Okay.
But he was without Travis Hunter, Grant.
Listen to me. Should have lost to Colorado State. That was a horrible loss by Colorado State, who dominated the whole game and then lost in overtime. So I'm tired of Deion Sanders. I'm tired. I'm rooting for Colorado to lose every single game. I'm already tired of his act. I'm tired of it.
Look, he had 53 scholarship players transfer in his first year. 53. This is a guy that you either love him and you love the program, or you can't stand the act and you want him to lose. There's nothing in between, or very rare is it in between with Coach Prime. And Grant, quite frankly, it's like, and I'm no expert here, but he runs the program, or at least it appears to be like a youth football program where you got, I know Travis Hunter is good enough to play both ways, special talent, but you're either in the coach's circle or you're not. And I get, and we're going to get to this a little bit later in the show, that it's becoming more and more of a business rather than a sport, but the balance there is a little bit out of whack.
And Cody says, let's hope that Pat Shurmur can help lead the offense to more success this season. Well, that's Pat Shurmur's a hell of a football coach, so I don't think there's any question about that. But there's a couple things that Deion Sanders has done. First of all, he's brought a lot of attention to the program, which they have not had in a long time. So that is good. But he's also put a major bullseye on the Colorado Buffalo jerseys every time they step on the field, because other teams are envious. They're like me. They feel like the attention is undeserving, and they go out and try to kick their ass. Like it is a special game now when you play them because of all the nonsense that goes along with having Deion Sanders as the head coach there.
That Colorado State game you referenced before was one of the most intense college football games I remember watching in a really long time. So right to your point.
And they play this year, week 3, and I will be watching that game. That's going to be a hell of a game. That's the 3rd week of the season with Colorado and Colorado State. But, get back to your question, Cody. I totally disagree with you about, you hope that he has success. I hope he fails, because I'm tired of his act already. I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. There's no excuse for the way he treats the media that, you say taking receipts. What's he taking receipts on, Cody? The media is saying that their team doesn't do this well, doesn't do that well, shouldn't be this highly ranked. What's he taking receipts on? I mean, Cody, he hasn't done anything at Colorado yet. He's done nothing. Now, in all fairness, he's only been there 1 year, and I want to give him a full 3 or 4 years to implement his own players, blah, 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 blah. I'm okay with that. But hey, listen, you are what your record says you are. And their record last year, 1 conference win. I don't want to hear about Colorado. Don't want to hear about him.
I would be shocked if he's at Colorado 4 or 5 years. Shocked if that
Where you
happens.
think he's going NFL?
No, I just don't think that he's long in the tooth at any institution. I know that he built up the Jacksons, or his previous program. I don't want to say the school wrong, but he was there, built that up, left. He's always looking for the next thing. Who's to say he doesn't try to follow his kids into the NFL? A lot of stuff off the field there too. He's a businessman, Grant, just as much as he is a coach.
All the naysayers, he can't wait to call them out if his team is successful. Cody, why would you want to call out people? You're the head football coach at a Division I program. Like, how about having some freaking class? Like, I mean, let people go on talk radio, let people go in the media, and use that to better your program. Like it's almost like you're making it personal. Why is he making it personal? I mean, it's, to me, it's turned me off. I'm rooting against Colorado every time they play. I'm hoping they get their ass kicked. And I'm hoping that teams run up the score on them. I really am. I like to see teams run up the score on them. I'm tired of it. And I'm also very tired of the unfairness that the media portrays towards him. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. Mark Jones was doing the Colorado State game last year.
Boy.
And I had to turn. Listen, I did.
Yes.
I was watching the game on a patio outside. Okay. I turned the volume down because it was making me sick to my stomach. Mark Jones, I thought, wanted to have sex with him. All right. It was disgusting. It was so over the top. It was so unprofessional. And Mark Jones got called out on that by so many people. It was horrible. Horrible.
Yeah. Did you hear how he started the telecast? We'll leave it there. Anybody?
I don't know how the guy has a job. I really don't. I don't understand how that guy maintains a job. I really don't.
I hear you. We want to hear from all of you tonight. So get up in here. We've got the QR code above Grant. Also, the link is in the chat. Let's have Jason lead off for us tonight. Welcome in, Jason.
Hey, thanks so much for taking my call. Great topic. Being that I played college football and I went to a bowl games are amazing. Even if it's not something that even if you're not playing in a major bowl, just the experience was incredible.
Where'd you play at?
San Diego State, baby.
San Diego State.
I know. But you see, I want to get into this because Ryan and I were just discussing this.
Right.
Now, if you're not in the big show like Florida State, half their team didn't play in the College Bowl because of the portal and everything else. The system now is so bad for that. But go ahead. I want you to continue what you were saying, but I wanted to add that.
I wouldn't say it's a system. I would say it's the culture of the program.
I disagree. I think it is the system now.
Well,
it's not the culture of the program. It's the system that, Ryan, what do you think? You follow this very closely.
I think it's completely the system. In fact, Jason Grant, we got some audio from Mike Gundy, head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, today, talking about the system.
And, you know, the business side of what we do now is we have to have those conversations with them. You know, tell your agent to quit calling us and asking for more money. It's non-negotiable now. Start again in December.
Think about that, Grant. As soon as that transfer portal opens, even if the season's going on, and Jason, to your point, it's time to negotiate.
I didn't know about that. I mean, I always thought myself that that football should be just like soccer or football in Europe, that it's a club. That's how I think football should be. It should be ran like a club. Athletes should be paid. They're making millions of dollars. There's over 100 NCAA schools that make over $100 million.
Well, the football players are paid now. There's name, image, and likeness. They are now getting paid.
I think is a step in the right direction, but to still link it to colleges is a joke. Let's call it for what it is. It's an industry. Why link? I mean, I understand linking it to a school, but it should be like a club. I mean, if just call it whatever you want, but
All right,
realistically,
let me ask you this.
the athletes are not college
At
degree.
San Diego State, let's say, let me finish. At San Diego State, you played football, right?
Yes.
You're putting in X number of hours a week to go play football at San Diego State, and you're a student and you're going to class during the week as well. Okay. I go to San Diego State and I'm the captain of the swimming team, and we are national quality, national champion caliber swim team. And I don't know what the swim team is at San Diego State. I'm using this as an example. And I get to the NCAA meet the championships, and San Diego State is well represented, and I'm a great swimmer, and I'm not making a dime, and I'm looking at you, okay? And I'm putting in the same amount of work as you for the university. I'm trying to go to class at the same time. Why should I not get any money and you get money?
Well, it depends if you believe in capitalism or socialism. I mean, it just comes down to that. It's always been that way. I'm not a equality of outcome. I'm just not that way. I mean, for me personally, I went a little route. I didn't have any money. I knew that I didn't have a college fund. My college fund was used by my dad to buy
Did you get a scholarship?
I did. Yeah. I was on a
Okay.
full
What was that worth?
at that time, I think with food and everything else, maybe like seven to 10 grand a semester, maybe.
Okay. So you didn't have to take out a student loan, right?
No, I got a full ride.
Okay. So you got a full ride. You don't think there's value to that?
There is.
Okay. So I don't have a problem with you getting a full ride, but did you graduate?
Yeah, I went to grad school too. Yeah.
Okay, so you got a lot out of going to San Diego State. In addition to playing football, which was a fabulous experience, you got an education and you got a degree, which has paved the way for your success in life. Correct?
But I chose.
What's that worth?
I chose specifically football because I could. I was a better soccer player, but because I couldn't, because of Title IX, I wasn't going to get jack. There's no way. I mean, no, I think maybe they had 2 scholarships on the soccer team, and our soccer team, there's a bunch of men's sports like baseball. Baseball were pissed because you had to have a quality of scholarships. You had like women's water polo. Nobody goes and sees that. I mean, there's a bunch of sports that nobody watches. I mean, so there's a whole, I mean, in today's day and age, in reality, you have to look at Title IX. I think it's unfair, and it's
but I don't want you to tell me. Listen, this is a fabulous conversation, and I'm really happy that we're talking about this.
Sure.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Okay.
But you seem to me to feel slighted because when you played college football, there wasn't name, image, and likeness, and you didn't make any money. And I totally don't see your point of view. To me, you made a lot of money because you got a free ride and you got an education while you were playing football. And That's worth a hell of a lot of money.
Well, for the amount of time, Grant, honestly, that I put in on football and travel and everything else, I could have worked a job and actually made more money and paid for things quite easily. And I mean, the football at that time, I'm a little bit different character. I mean, what
Okay.
I was a tutor. I mean, I might not be the perfect person to talk about this but I specifically chose to kick and punt because that's what I was good in soccer. And I didn't choose soccer specifically because I couldn't get a scholarship. So to me, I treated it more of I need to go to college because I want to get away from home and get out of my situation, and football was the best avenue. That's literally in ninth grade,
Okay.
13-year-old. That's what I thought. And so that's why I did everything I could. So, but I think in today's day and athletes, even then I wrote a paper on this specifically about Title IX and the effects of Title IX, etc. So I've always felt this way. I've always felt like the amount of, like, I have a bunch of teammates, and I played, my first year was with Mark McGuire, and then I played 3 years, the last 3 years with Marshall Falk and Robert Griffith, Chris Johnson, a bunch of guys that went pro. I mean, I think we had like 50 guys from my team for my 3 years that went pro. And so we had a great team. But as a kicker and a punter, I mean, I punted, I like I'm really kind of like the schlep of the team. So, I mean, yeah, like, but they put in all kinds of work. I know a lot of guys that have a lot of physical issues, and they basically were used and abused. I mean, look at CTE, look at all this other stuff. So I
Well,
think we're
I don't agree with you. I don't think they're used and abused. I think anyone that plays a sport, whether it's hockey, whether it's football, whether it's auto racing, you can MMA, boxing, you understand there are risks associated with your sport. I don't think you are used and abused. I mean, it's part of the perils of playing that sport. I played two very heavy contact sports as lacrosse and football, and I knew the risk before I stepped onto the field, and I continued to do so. So, I mean, don't you as an individual have to take responsibility of partaking in a sport that's physical?
back then we didn't know the risk, Grant. We didn't. Back then, I mean, look at what happened in junior sale, because I went to San Diego State. That was when it first came out. Like, all the stuff, all the science and everything, we that was not even in the realm of.
I'm the same way. You know what? I'm probably speaking in the same language as you. I know I had multiple concussions and never missed a play. All right. When I played, getting dinged is technically a concussion. And I used to play defensive line and make a tackle with the knee and the helmet. And I would be like wobbly, and I didn't even come off the field. Well, I should have not only come off the field, I shouldn't have played for a couple of weeks, but I didn't even miss a play. Why? Because we didn't know. I'm right. Isn't that the way it was?
Right. That would explain why you're still a Kings fan.
Well, you know what? That would explain a lot of things, actually.
Really quick, Jason, for me, when I think about used and abused, and especially back in that time, I think about the kids that maybe wouldn't have had an opportunity to go to college, but were on scholarship and got bad advice from an agent, entered a draft too early, and then don't make it to the pros. And now you can't go back to school and you don't have that degree, because there's a lot of stories like that. So I'm glad you got your degree at the very least out of it.
I think most of the players did. Honestly, they got their degrees, but a lot of the knowledge that we have now, we just didn't have it then. And I think the more this goes to like a club, like where people get paid in kind of a farm system, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly fine with that. But to have the illusion that a lot of these players are going for a college degree, that might be 10%. I mean, look at the 80-20.
I disagree with you. I think it's a lot more than 10%. I totally disagree with that. You're going to tell me that all of the Division I football teams in America, only 10% are going to get a degree? I think that's way low.
Okay, so but we're
Well-
talking people in bowl games, Grant, and look at Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20 principle. I mean, the people the programs that are making money are the ones with the really good athletes, and they're the creme de la creme. And
I understand, but that's a small percentage of Division I football programs, because I mean, a lot of, the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Texases and the LSUs and Ohio State and Michigan. Okay. I mean, there's always the cream of the crop, right? There's always the top, the icing on the cake. I mean, not everyone's Ohio State and Michigan.
We're talking about compensation, though. Only the top 10, 20% of players are using the portal, basically, and talented, and those are the ones that want money. You're right.
I get that. I get that.
80% of them might be.
But a lot more than 10% are going to college that play college football that are also going to get their degree. That's inaccurate.
Well, no, I would say, I'm sorry. I would say it's the opposite. I would say about 80% want their degree. But the people that are concerned with money, the players that are concerned with money are the top 20%.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I agree with that. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood you. I apologize.
Because what you're talking about are these top tier programs with all the colleges. I mean, these super conferences. That's the top 10%, 20% of players. Just these super conferences. Like
here's the problem I have with what you're saying. And again, understand I'm older than you and I'm old fashioned. So I'm putting that out there. I have a problem with you thinking you got nothing out of going to San Diego State monetarily. Wait a minute. When I'm sitting next to you in class, all right, had to take a loan out and working 2 jobs, don't have much of a social life, have to pay for my dorm, have to pay my food. No one's rolling out the red carpet for me. I can't go and say, you know what, I need tutoring and get free tutoring like you can at a football program and get all these other bells and whistles while I'm busting my ass, working jobs, paying for my education and barely getting through. Oh, and then by the way, when I get out of college, I still have to pay my loans off for a couple of years. See, like that bothers me. If I'm that kid in your class sitting next to you and I hear you saying that, that infuriates me.
Let me clarify, Grant. I was so poor, even with a scholarship, a full ride. I had a scooter, like worse than a Vespa. Like this was when gas was like 50 cents a gallon, right? I would literally look on the ground at San Diego State while on scholarship for change.
I lived it. You know what? And I understand. The worst thing about when you and me went to college is that we weren't allowed to get a job if you played a sport. You weren't allowed. Even if you want, listen, you tell me if I'm right or wrong here. Even if you wanted to get a part-time job, let's say you could get a job at only 10 hours a week at minimum wage, for you to put some jingle in your pocket so you could go out with your friends and go to McDonald's or Burger King or get a pizza or, you know what I'm saying, right? Am I right? You couldn't even do that. That was prohibited. I had a real problem with that.
That's correct. And it was. I mean, so the notion, I don't want you to think I was ungrateful because that's the last. I'm extremely grateful. But to say that I could do things, I literally had to work around. I actually did have a part-time job that I don't know if it was legal or not. I was
It wasn't legal. Right.
Athlete. That's how I got to be a teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years. So I would actually tutor the athletes at study hall. So I got to see all the athletes because I would go to class,
that's awesome.
I would notes, and that's how I had a part-time job. That's the only way that I was able to have any spending money at all. Because
I love what you're saying, and I'm really happy that you brought this to the table. Ryan, you can add in on this because I'd like to get your perspective, buddy.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. And I'm not sure what you saw, Jason, but certain people get certain benefits or treated a different way, have different opportunities made available to them within the system.
Yeah, I think Marshall Faulk probably had more opportunities.
Oh,
right?
he deserved it, Grant.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I agree with you.
Well, think about how much money he was bringing to the school. I mean, would you go to the student store, number 28 jerseys, or what's sold?
And the notoriety. I mean, why would you watch San Diego State without Marshall Faulk?
No other reason. Why you're not going to turn it on to look at Jack Murphy Stadium, Qualcomm? No chance.
Terrible field. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think the thing I want to take it back to this though. I think what we're running up against, we agree that the players should be paid. And the NCAA, there's lawsuits trying to settle what's going to happen and how players can get back paid, and the schools are going to handle that. But the problem at hand is we are so early into this NIL stuff that, to your point, Jason, any team that makes a bowl game, it doesn't have to be a big school, Grant. It could be a school that's up and coming, a mid-major. The stars of those schools will have opportunities, NIL opportunities, to transfer to bigger schools. And so you see kids pulling out of the bowl games. You see all this stuff. So now To a degree last year, guys, we saw the bowl games, a lot of the important ones be obsolete. They were nothing more than glorified spring games because people were already in the transfer portal.
Here's how you settle that. You don't open the transfer portal until all the bowl games are over. That's simple.
Jason, I want to say thank you very much. This is one of the most enjoyable conversations that I've had on this show in a long time. I love talking about this stuff, and your perspective is outstanding. Your viewpoints are outstanding. We may not agree, but boy, I love talking about this, and I can't thank you enough. This was a phenomenal 20 minutes or so, and I'm grateful you took the time to call the show.
Thank you. Now, it's dinner time. And I'm getting hungry, and I know you're going to talk about Bennett's in a second. So I'm just going to salivate and listen to you go into the ad read. Thank you, guys. Love you.
Much respect to you. Much respect. That was a fabulous
you,
conversation.
Jason. Hey, Jason, next time we're in San Diego together, cheeseburger at McDonald's on Montezuma. On me, buddy. All right?
Rubio's fish tacos. Are you crazy?
Well, Trujillo's. There's a bunch of different ones down there. We'll figure it out, buddy.
Take care, buddy. Yeah, we are going to talk
Jason.
about Bennett's. I will be there multiple times next week, and I cannot wait. Sacramento, Roseville, and the West Side Grill in Rockland. I will be at various locations throughout the week. I can't wait. Prime Seafood and Steak. Their happy hour, and they've got a special deal going on right now as well, Ryno. So there's something for everyone at Bennett's, and all you need to do is go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. It's as good as it gets, Ryno.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. Their summer special right now. You can get 2-course meals, $30, 3-course, $35. Amazing choices, hanger steak, steak frites, all the good stuff on the menu, Nate. So make sure you double day out there. Brunch, lunch, dinner, it's all there at Bennett's.
Bennett's. That's right, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. And remember, folks, if you have any issues that need to be taken care of in the plumbing variety, this is the company that will be available around the clock. That's New Works Plumbing. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. They've got a fix for you. They are awesome. That's New Works Plumbing at sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Ryno, I love that conversation. That was fabulous, man. That was great. I really enjoyed that perspective.
Really valuable perspective. That's coming from somebody that lived it, grinded it, made a change in their sport to be able to go to school. Amazing stuff. So
I know I played Division I sport. I didn't play Division I football. I played Division I lacrosse, but we put in the maximum number of hours allowed by the NCAA. So, I understand it. We did travel. I remember we went on an East Coast trip once and played the Naval Academy at their tournament. We played at Charlottesville against Virginia, and we played at Towson State, and we played a lot of the top programs. And yeah, it requires a lot of extra work. I remember going on, getting on the bus to go to an away game on a Wednesday, right? And, you're on the bus and you got your textbooks and you're trying to do what you have to do to make sure you stay eligible so that you can play next week or the following week. I get it. I did it. I know what it's like.
No doubt. Alternative schedules. Get ready to be comfortable being uncomfortable, taking tests on the road and, living a fast lifestyle, Grant. That's what it was. You had a lot of commitments.
Yeah. Good stuff. I really enjoyed that conversation. Good stuff.
Very, very good stuff. All right. We bring in our buddy, Jay. Welcome in tonight, Jay.
Hello. How you guys doing?
Hey, Jay.
I thought this conversation was really interesting, especially, me, myself, and I being a college student currently with dreams and hopes of hopefully playing basketball at the Division I level at the height of 5'9". That didn't pan out too well.
It could still happen, brother.
Just to clarify, so Grant, you're not necessarily on the side of that these college kids should be paid to play at the top level. Is that what
I believe that they should be compensated to a degree. I think that the system has been flawed, and I do think that it is an absolute outrage that someone like Jason goes to college on a football scholarship and doesn't have any money to even go to get a hamburger at McDonald's or go out and get whatever with his friend. I think that's wrong, and I think the system needs to be changed. Do I think that college athletes should be making millions of dollars when they're 18 and 19? No, I don't. I'm totally against that.
Okay, definitely. I like how you threw that part in there. I definitely agree with you. He shouldn't have been looking on the ground for change.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's awful. It's a horrible system.
And looking at it, this was a few months ago, but I was looking at the biggest stadiums in the world, and 8 out of the top 10 are actually college football stadiums.
Yep.
So there's a physical demand there, and so
Yep.
I decided to look up some more research. And I think it was 2022, the University of Texas football program had a higher revenue than 30 out of 32 NFL teams. So out of 30 NFL teams for the 2022 season, they had a higher gross income than NFL teams. So I do like how they're incorporating that. Hey, you need to break some of these kids off, especially kids that come from nothing. Like there's one thing where you have a middle class kid who made it.
Why does that matter? Hold on. What's the difference?
A kid that comes from nothing.
Yeah, like why do you draw that line in your mind that
they
should be treated differently?
So especially the kids that come from nothing, referring to that, I mean, you can have, for example, Ryno, I don't know your economic status of you growing up, but assuming, let's say you're middle class, and you got the same opportunity as Grant, who is a Section 8 kid, who didn't have the same economic opportunities as you. So it's especially important to these kids because these kids that who didn't know what they were going to eat, who are eating off of paper plates every night or cups of noodles and couldn't afford school lunch. Like these are deciding factors for this child's future, where this child's going to commit, because not only is he's not necessarily there for the education. In my opinion, from the kids that I grew up around, I've talked about my background a little bit. I went to Hiram Johnson High School for a little bit. Like I didn't have, so I've seen kids in a lot worse of a situation than I was in, kids from CV Circle growing, you know what I'm saying? Kids.
Yeah, I get you loud and clear. Yeah.
So these decisions when it comes to committing to a school, and I get what you're saying, like from an equality standpoint, there's no difference between them as a person, but it's just Grant in this case, who's a Section 8 kid, is going to value the money and the opportunity of creating something for his family and making money off of that, rather where you, Ryno, you might be grateful just to get an education because you didn't have the same kind of struggle growing up. Does that make any kind of sense what I'm trying to say? Like the values and the morals may be different depending on your ethnic background and your culture and what, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and
economic background, excuse me, I didn't.
And I guess that's the part that I hate about the system, because you're making a financial choice instead of a future choice. You only have, what is it, like the top 1% of athletes make it to the NBA, make it to the NFL. So that school, that future, that should be your A plan. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Ryno,
Whereas
I hear you, Ryno. I went to a charter school right here on Broadway, and I know, I hear you. And so fortunately,
Jay, I got you. Jay,
if it
I
wasn't for me being a charter school, I wouldn't have saw the value in college. Jay, if I went to a regular public school, they're not, these kids that are in Section 8, like public schools, it goes by your area code. These teachers aren't telling these kindergartners, hey, go to school one day, get it. Like these guys, it's not the same.
Jay, I'm going to tell you this because you're speaking what I experienced with my foundation. To a degree.
That's actually a great point. I forgot about that. I can
make a parallel. When we selected our students, the first thing we did, we looked at their application, and before we got them down to the final 16, they had to verify their family's income via tax returns or proof. And if they were above a certain threshold economically in their family, they didn't make the cut. They had to be below a certain economic threshold before we would accept them into our foundation because we felt was need and necessity based on their upbringing. So in a way, right? I'm hearing what you're saying.
No, that's great. That's honestly phenomenal that you said that, because they do the same thing with FAFSA. I'm pretty sure you guys are very familiar with, or you've heard FAFSA. You have to qualify and meet a certain economic threshold. But right now, I totally get your point. Like, it shouldn't make a difference where you're from. But I think when you take yourself outside of your body and you're just kind of looking at this narrative of what this person may have gone through in life compared to this person, because I mentioned I went to Hiram Johnson. I also went to McClatchy, which is a huge school in Sacramento.
Yep.
And I've seen Asian kids that are very intelligent. And then I've seen Asian kids that were raised in the hood. I've seen Latino kids that are the same way. I've seen all kinds of.
That's true of every race in the world.
And that's the beauty of Sacramento. We're very diverse. But
it's that way
just
all over
makes
the world.
you, like, I have a lot of empathy, I guess you can say.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Listen, I grew up middle class. Okay. I was a middle class family, and not maybe even towards the lower end of middle class, but I would say middle class. And I'll be very honest with you. My father was unbelievable in terms of being a civil rights activist. And we were in a church in New York because the community that I grew up in, we didn't have any black people in my neighborhood. And so we joined a church, my dad's church in New York City, that had multiple ethnicities. When I went to church, and after we got out of Sunday school and met my dad and my mom in church, there were black men and women. There were Asian men and women. It was a culture in church that I didn't have on the block and the immediate neighborhood that I grew up. The high school that I went to, Syosset High School, we had some black kids, but not a lot. You know what I'm saying?
You were raised in New York, right?
Yeah, I was raised on Long Island.
Yeah, so that's very common back in your heyday.
Well, it was. Thank you for saying that. I grew up in the 60s and the early 70s, and that was very common. But my dad, made sure that there was another avenue for us to experience different cultures, and he used church as that avenue.
It's a great conduit.
I went to Sunday school, and we'd be sitting on the floor. I'll never forget this. And I would have, an Asian person next to me, black people next to me. So when I grew up, and I never thought about this as a kid. Not one time did I ever think, gee, how come those types of ethnicities, those different types of ethnicities aren't on my block and in my school? I never thought of that. I didn't think about that as a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or 11-year-old or 12-year-old. But I also didn't really think about why was it like that in Sunday school and in church. You know what I mean? Like, when you're that age, you're not thinking about these type of things. I always share the story about Chris Russo. You only know what you know.
Right.
You only know what you know. You don't. Back then, there's no social media. There's 3 TV stations. There's no cell phones. You're getting your information from your mom and your dad, right?
Yep.
You're not getting your information from watching TV or you don't have computers. There's no internet. Think about that. You're getting your information from your teachers, and really your mom and dad and your friends' parents. That's it.
Ryno, what year were you, if you don't mind me asking? What year were you? 70s, 80s? Or did I go too high?
My friend. No. 2002 is when I graduated.
No. What year were you born?
Oh, 1984. 1984.
Okay. No, I didn't want to say that. That.
No, you're good, brother.
I get you, but listen, there's inequities all over the world. Okay.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's never going to change. It's not like, someone's going to have a magic wand and the ghettos are going to go away and the gangs are going to go away. And you know what I mean? Like that's part of life. Right.
Yeah. And when I brought it up, it was especially, that was the word I did use, Ryno, was especially the kids that are lower income. And, there are some people that have issues with, well, just because they're this skin color, it doesn't mean this and that. Like, we should still have equal opportunity. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm just saying these kids are going to value certain things that other kids that may have been more fortunate growing up, like I said, you might value the education because your parents may have taught you, hey, get an education, go to school, and this and that, and don't worry about the money right now. But this kid is, his grandmother was raising him. She might have cancer, and his little brother is hungry. You know what I'm saying? So there's different. That's all I mean.
Jay, I grew up middle class. I get it. I completely agree with everything that you're saying. In fact, we've talked numerous times about how your experiences at college, Mike Lamb's experiences, Grant, my experiences, those were some of the most valuable experiences in a locker room. So the only point that I'm trying to make is, regardless of whether you come from low income, whether you come from high income, I have a problem with money being the determining factor, with schools throwing money, massive money, whether you're rich or poor, never seen a dollar or have $1 million of it.
Well, the cold truth is California is a great state to play high school football. And same with Florida and Texas. Those are probably powerhouse states for high school football. And that's where a lot of these power conferences recruit from. The payment doesn't start in college. Most of these
you're right.
high school programs are private high school programs. Mater Dei, for example, in Santa Ana, California. St. John Bosco down there as well. All these are private schools. De La Salle. They're paying these. You have Folsom up here, who's a decent program, but they can't compete with the ones out there that are paying these kids.
That's a great point.
And Jay, a lot of those kids come from Crenshaw and Slauson or Compton. You know what I mean? So
I got you.
It sucks, Ryno. I'm on the page that money shouldn't be. It's also the opportunity to go to Stanford, for example.
Hey, Jay, you make a fabulous point. I got a roll, buddy. So I'm gonna have to
we can go on and on forever.
Listen. This is great stuff, Jay. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
really good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you, brother. Thanks, Jay.
I also appreciate Sunrise Landing, and I'm hoping to get out there next week. This is from Blazona Development, and if you go to CalusaSunrise.com, you can check out their various models. 6 models to choose from. No Mellorews, no homeowners, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Access to I-5, Highway 20, Highway 45. It's all there for you at Sunrise Landing if you go to CalusaSunrise.com. That is CalusaSunrise.com, and you can check everything out. Jerry Reynolds tomorrow at 2 o'clock, right, buddy?
Yes, indeed. Can't wait. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Get your questions ready. We'll be talking King's schedule, Grant.
Great. And then we'll be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. You good for that?
Can't wait for it, brother. Let's
look forward to it. Have a great evening, everybody. Appreciate you. Great